one. Nidhi, over to you.
Namaste everyone, a very warm good evening to all. Today we are organizing a multidisciplinary webinar on Beyond the Archives, locating Indian history in oral narratives. Um with collaboration with Rani Chennamma University Department of English. Um, we will start this session with a beautiful song by Shreya. Before handing over the mic to Shreya, I would very briefly introduce her. Shreya Beamish is a 21-year-old brilliant girl. She's currently pursuing MBBS in ESIC Medical College, Bangalore. She got a merit rank in this particular college, and she has been learning music for 15 years, initially under Vidwan Lakshmi Varun, and currently under Vidwan Harini Ramesh. And she has participated in various competitions and has won multiple awards. And very beautiful melodious voice she has. So let's begin this particular evening with her prarthana song. Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much for the sweet introduction. This particular Dasar Pada which I have chosen today is actually one of the rare compositions of a rare Dasaru. He is not as popular as Purandara Dasaru or Kanaka Dasaru or Vijaya Dasaru. He is called Mahipati Dasaru. And so I have chosen a very beautiful Kriti in Raga Abheri, which will narrate various incidences and various achievements of Lord Vishnu in Raga Abhi. Kayo Paramananda Kayo Paramananda ನಿನ್ನ ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡಲು ತ್ವರಿತದಿಂದಲಿ ದೇವ ಬಂದು ಆತನ ಮಹಾದುರಿತಗಳ ಪರಿಹರಿಸಿ ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಹರಿಗೆ ಕಾಲೋ ಪರಮಾನಂದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ತೋಯ ಜದಳ ನಯನ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನ ಕಾಯೋ ಪರಮಾನಂದ ಅರಗಿನ ಮನೆಯೊಳು ಪಾಂಡವರು ಸಿಲುಕಿದರು ಹರಿನಿನೆ ಗತಿಗೆಂದು ಸುಮ್ಮನಿರಲು ಅರಗಿನ ಮನೆಯೊಳು ಪಾಂಡವರು ಸಿಲುಕಿದರು ಹರಿನಿನೆ ಗತಿಗೆಂದು ಸುಮ್ಮನಿರಲು ಸಿರಿಲೋಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಪಾಯವರು ರಚಿಸಿ ಸಿರಿಲೋಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಪಾಯವರು ರಚಿಸಿ ಅವರೆಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಮಡಿಸಿ ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಹರಿಯೇ ಕಾಯೋ ಪರಮಾನಂದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ತೋಯ ಜದಳ ನಯನ. ಈ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹು ಭಕ್ತರನ್ನು ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಮುರಹರಿ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಂಬನದನು. ಈ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹು ಭಕ್ತರನ್ನು ಕಾಯ್ದೆ ಮುರಹರಿ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಂಬನದನು. ದಾರಿಯ ನರಿಯದ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಪರಾಧವನು. ದಾರಿಯ ನರಿಯದ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಿಯ ಪರಾಧವನು. ಸೇರಿಸುವುದು ಮಹಿಪತಿ ಸೂತ ಪ್ರಿಯನೇ ಕಾಯೋ ಪರಮಾನಂದ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ತೋಯ ಜದಳ ನಯನ ಗರುಡ ಗಮನ ಕಾಯೋ ಪರಮಾನಂದ. ಪರಮಾನಂದ ಪರಮಾನಂದ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Thank you so much, Shreya. It was a really wonderful singing. It enlightened us a lot, and it was a great beginning for this session. Thank you so much for singing it for us. And I want to mention that Haridasa Sahitya is also part of oral narratives. It includes social situations of past, political situations, military actions happened in the past. So they are part of the oral history. It was really a wonderful beginning. So now I request HOD Chairman of Department of English, University Belgavi, Dr. Kavita Kusgal ma'am, to welcome the session. Welcome everyone to the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nidhi. A very great evening to all. First of all, I thank our Honorable Registrar Sir for accepting the invitation to be the inaugurator of this event. And I also thank him for giving the permission to be the collaboration in this webinar. Then he is a very senior KS officer, Shri Santosh Kamgowda sir. He is very rich in knowledge of literature. He always open to learning new things, and also a great patron to the aspirants of knowledge. So our department, as well as the History Enthusiasts Association of India, are grateful to you, sir, and we welcome you to this event. And I also welcome Shri Nandan Shastriji sir, who is honorary president of History Enthusiasts Association India. He is a very good mentor behind Nidhi and Manali Bommaya. He is a very good mentor and advisor, and is honorary president of this platform. So he is also president of this today's event. So I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the department of our university, Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, and also from the platform. And the one more very important person of this today's event, he is keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Badani sir, Vice Provost Lokbharati University for Rural Innovation, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. So I am thankful to you for accepting to be the keynote addresser. I welcome you on behalf of the Department of English Studies of Rani Chennamma University and the History Enthusiasts Association of India. This platform established 5 years ago with the very apt, very able leadership of Manali Bommaya and Nidhi Katti, and behind them Nandan Shastri sir and very senior madam their guidance. They have started it, and today it has more than 1700 subscribers. Their knowledge repository is in form of YouTube, and it has more than 1700 subscribers. It's not a small thing. So it was just a casual talk when Nidhi and I were discussing, and I said we can collaborate like this. So just a word, and she and her team, Bommaya and Nidhi, have a hard behind this. Their hard work is there, and they have realized it today. So congratulate you, and a welcome. I welcome from Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, and on behalf of all the audience, you both. And there is a very good singer, a very pleasant divine touch was given to the beginning of this event. Shreya, I welcome you. And our English department students are there who are studying oral literature as a paper in their program, MA program. So I welcome all those students, all the research scholars of the department, and not only our department, there are Hampi University and from Andhra Pradesh. So different corners of India, there are research scholars, there are professors who are attending this today's webinar. I welcome all of you to this very great event, and there will be throughout the next coming days, very senior persons from different corners of India, the retired officers, and different fields like finance. So many people are giving their insights. So all of them I am inviting, I'm welcoming here. Tomorrow Nirgune sir is coming. So all of you, maybe they are all attending this today's inaugural function through YouTube. So I welcome all those knowledge seekers to this event once again from Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, and History Enthusiasts Association of India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We also very warmly welcome you to this particular session. It was your guidance and support that we were able to do this. It was your idea, and you were the one who suggested us the resource persons. Thank you so much. Now, I request Ms. Manali Momaya, founder president of the History Enthusiast, to perform the concept note as well as introduce our today's two important people. Uh, Santosh sir, who is registrar of RCOB Belgavi, and our keynote speaker Vishal sir. Over to you, Manali.
Thank you very much, Nidhi, for the wonderful beginning. Shreya for the musical invocation, and Dr. Kavita Kusugal ma'am for the warm welcome. So, the webinar, Beyond the Archives, Locating Indian History in Oral Narratives, is jointly organized by the history enthusiasts and the Department of Studies in English, Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. The series seeks to foster a multidisciplinary dialogue between historians, literary scholars, anthropologists, cultural practitioners, and so many more people who explore how oral traditions, performances, and memories function as vital sources for understanding India's past. In recent decades, the study of oral history has emerged as a significant field that questions the authority of written archives and expands the epistemological boundaries of what constitutes history. This initiative aims to engage with these scholars, these scholarly currents, highlighting how orality, through song, speech, story, and performance, constitutes an alternative archive that preserves voices, emotions, and experiences often excluded from mainstream historiographical narratives. So, when we say beyond the archives, we mean an oral archive. The archive, a historian's sacred ground, has long been regarded as the ultimate repository of the past. Dusty palm leaf manuscripts, rusty copper plates, brittle maps, flaking ink, fading photographs, and carefully catalogued records. They have played an extremely significant role so far in shaping our understanding of India's past. Yet, beyond these walls, of palm leaves and paper, there exists another bigger and far older archive, one that breathes, sings, dances, and reminisces. It is the archive of the spoken word, of living memory, and of stories passed from one voice to another generation. So, this webinar Beyond the Archives, it seeks to enter this dynamic realm of remembrance, to tune into India's unwritten histories, and to recognize in them a profound, living, breathing historiography. So, they have to be made part of the mainstream. India's historical thought has always thrived in orality across centuries and topographies, languages, and societies. Memory has found expression in stories told by our elders, the ovis sung by women as they grind grain, the lavani and pavada ballads that exalt heroes, the baul songs that search for the divine, the chants resonating in shrines, the Pandavani and Villupattu recitals that retell epics, the folk tales narrated around bonfires, and the vibrant performances of Bhavai and Yakshagana in village squares. These oral traditions have preserved the ethos, struggles, victories, and losses also, aspirations and spiritual journeys of countless people, especially those who experience these things but they never get to say their stories in mainstream history. The bards of Rajasthan, the Pithoda painters of Gujarat, the Theyyam performers of Kerala, the women's songs of central India, the tribal storytellers of the Northeast, they all carry in their voices a map of India's emotional and historical landscape. So these voices, they do not simply recount the past, they embody it, they perform memory, and they live the experience. So we need to go beyond the conventional archives and shift our gaze from written to spoken, from the textual to the performative, and from preservation to participation. So we are preserving monuments, but now we need to participate, to engage, and to understand. And oral traditions, they transmit history not through linear chronology, but through rhythm, repetition, and reinvention. And they are interesting. So it is high time that we now enter that realm. And this series, it brings together a lot of people, lot of experts from various walks of life, from various disciplines of academic worlds. And each lecture, it opens a window into a different oral universe. We have many wonderful lectures lined up, very interesting topics. At a deeper level, this exploration is also an act of listening, not just as an academic endeavor, but just listening to our histories. And that is why it is not merely a discussion of oral traditions, but a manifesto for reimagining history itself as a polyphonic, multidimensional, and participatory entity. So, talking about the outcomes, uh, as this webinar series unfold, we envision not just conversation but continuation. Our goal is to transform these exchanges into enduring scholarly contributions. We hope that we will be able to select the papers that resonate the most with our audiences, to get them published, compiled in an edited volume, and therefore enhance its reach to more readers, more knowledge seekers, as Madam said. And before we begin this intellectual journey, I would also like to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt wishes to our guiding light and honorary president, Sri Nandan Shastri ji, on the occasion of his 75th birthday. His quiet dedication to history and his encouragement of young scholars has always been a steady source of inspiration to us and to our core committee and our members of the audience and everyone. And with that, I conclude my concept note. I would now like to go to the introduction part. So, it is our great honor to welcome Sri Santosh Kamgowda sir, Senior Scale Officer of the Karnataka Administrative Service, and the esteemed Registrar of Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi, as the inaugurator of today's webinar, of this webinar. A first rank holder in the KAS 2011 batch, and among the top achievers of the 2014 Assistant Commissioner cadre, Sir Kamagowda's career reflects an exemplary blend of administrative acumen, integrity, and humane leadership. From his early service as Tahsildar in Sindhanur and Assistant Commissioner in Raichur, Chikkodi, and Jamkhandi, to his tenure as Special Deputy Commissioner for the Upper Krishna Project and Joint Managing Director of Belagavi Smart City Limited, his work has consistently demonstrated efficacy, foresight, and deep concern for public welfare. Excuse me. Presently, as Registrar of Ranachanama University, he continues to uphold the values of academic discipline and inclusivity that define the spirit of higher education. Beyond the realm of administration, Sri Kamagowda is also a motivational speaker and author. His books, including All in One General Knowledge and KPSC KAS Mains General Studies and Kannada Literature series, have been very valuable companions for aspirants of the administrative services across Karnataka. There is some disturbance. Uh, can I continue?
Yes, Manali.
Okay, yeah. So he's a passionate believer in the transformative power of learning. He brings to every role not only administrative clarity, but also a genuine commitment to mentoring and motivating the next generation. And it is therefore most fitting that he inaugurates today's event. Uh, this event, which is dedicated to dialogue, reflection, and the living traditions of knowledge that continue to guide our intellectual journey. With that, I also would like to now introduce our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Vishal Bhadani, Vice Provost of Lok Bharati University for Rural Innovation, Bhavnagar, Gujarat, a scholar, educator, translator, and visionary whose work beautifully bridges the worlds of Gandhian philosophy, educational innovation, and the science of learning. Dr. Bhadani's professional journey is as inspiring as it is diverse. Formerly the director of the International Center for Applied Gandhian Studies, he has served as faculty in English at some of the Gujarat's most respected institutions, including the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, the Indian Institute of Teacher Education, Gandhinagar, and Marwadi University, Rajkot. His contribution to education extends far beyond the classroom. He has written and translated textbooks for the Cambridge University Press, the Gujarat State School Textbook Board, and the National Institute of Open Schooling, and has prepared training manuals for the finishing school program of the Government of Gujarat. A pioneer in digital pedagogy, Dr. Bhadani designed the world's first online course on Mahatma Gandhi titled Gandhian Methods to Sustainable Living and Happiness, now reaching over 1,200 students across 82 countries through the Udemy platform. He has trained thousands of teachers and professors across Gujarat on the science of learning and continues to be a sought after speaker on the neurological and technological frontiers of education. His literary contributions are equally significant. From translating the acclaimed Gujarati novelist Dhruv Bhatt's works like Timir Panthi and Akupar into English, to authoring books such as School Ane Tuition Sivaini Kelvani, uh, Vaddhaman, Rural Innovation, and the forthcoming Chapti Ajwadu and Neuromarg. For his outstanding contributions to education and public life, he has been honored with the National Nation Builder Award by the Rotary Club of Bhavnagar and currently serves as the youngest trustee of Gujarat Vidyapeeth, Ahmedabad, the historic institution founded by Mahatma Gandhi himself. Dr. Bhadani's thought leadership has been recognized nationally, having been invited by the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Government of India, as a youth icon to discuss Vision 2047 with the Honorable Prime Minister. A thinker rooted in Indian tradition yet deeply attuned to the challenges of a digital age, Dr. Bhadani's presence today reminds us that innovation and idealism are not opposites but they are companions to the pursuit of knowledge, and that's what makes this a very beautiful combination of speakers and scholars. So let's hear from the inaugurator of today's webinar of this webinar,
Uh,
Shri Santosh
Manali, I would
Ramgowda.
I would
Yes.
just interrupt you in the middle. Before we proceed, ma'am, Kavita ma'am wants to say something. So after that, we can move forward.
Thank you.
Just two
Thank
words,
you.
ma'am.
I forgot one thing. Honorable Registrar Sir is a not only just administrator, he's a very great philanthropist, and he has done masters in literature also. So he's very apt inaugurator to this function. Actually, our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Tagra Sir, when we approached, just one word he agreed and he gave his consent. So we have to be thankful to his generosity. And actually, he wanted to be present in this inauguration event, but as he's on journey due to some technical reason, he couldn't be present with us. But his best wishes are with us today. So I'm thankful to him. I welcome him through this platform. And I also once again welcome Senior Professor Nagannavar sir, who is in our department. He has worked as a vice chancellor of also of our department, and one more professor, Nagaratna Parande madam, Pooja Halyal madam, and Dr. Madhushri Kalimani, Dr. Fayaz Ilkal, who are not just one word. They all gave their consent, and they're all happy for this collaboration and this webinar. So I thank all of them to be the part of this event and agreeing to this collaboration. I welcome all of them once again. And I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir and Registrar Sir once again for giving consent and for being with us always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for again appreciating the collaboration and contribution of VC sir and Register sir. Now I request our Honorable Registrar Sir, Santosh K, to perform his introductory address.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're
Yes,
audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mr. Nandan Shastriji, president of the this today's event, and Dr. Vishal Badniji, Manaliji, and Nidhi Katti, and HOD of our English department, Professor Kavitaji, and Professor Naganawar, and all the faculty members of my university English department. It's really uh, truly a pleasure to be a part of this wonderful initiative beyond the archives locating Indian history in oral narratives. I must congratulate the history enthusiasts and the Department of Studies in English of our university for bringing such a creative and meaningful theme to the academic forefront. When we think of history, we often imagine only documents, inscriptions, and dusty old records. But India's real history, as already mentioned by some of my friends, it's really in history also lives in something far more dynamic in voices, in songs, in stories that have traveled across the generations. Our Lavani singers, our Harikatha performers, the Tattvapada reciters, and the storytellers from every corner of this country, they are all historians in their own way. They have carried wisdom, emotion, and the cultural memory long before printing presses or the archives existed. That's the beauty of India. We didn't just write history, we sang it, we performed it, and we lived it. In this era of fast media and in this artificial intelligence, revisiting our oral traditions reminds us that a memory is not just stored in data, it lives in human connection, in storytelling, in emotion. The oral narratives teach us that the past is not silent, It still speaks if only we take a moment to listen. I'm sure that this webinar, led by distinguished scholars like Dr. Vishal Badniji, will inspire all the participants to explore the richness of India's oral heritage. It also inspires young researchers to look at history not as a something locked in libraries, but as something alive in our villages, our songs, and our conversations. My heartfelt congratulations to the organizers and my best wishes to all the participants on behalf of RCUB and on behalf of Vice Chancellor, sir. And let us continue to celebrate the power of stories, because stories don't just tell history, they keep history alive. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your innovative ideologies. And surely, through this particular webinar, we will try to bring out all those stories back, and will try to make them available for the public. Thank you so much, sir, for addressing us today in your busy schedule. Thanks a lot, sir.
Uh, so, uh, as a mark of the inauguration of this webinar, we are lighting a virtual lamp, and all the dignitaries who are on the screen are part of this lighting of the lamp. So, uh, this is us inaugurating the
Now,
webinar.
officially, I can declare that the inauguration is done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So, thank you all for joining us for the inauguration. And now, to the very important part of this webinar, to give us an orientation, to give this webinar a direction, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Vishal Bhadani ji.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes. First of all, thank you so much for uh, inviting me on this beautiful platform. Uh, in fact, it was very incidental that I got a call from Nandan Shastri sir to talk about this beautiful topic, which is very close to my heart. And I've been working on this area for quite a few times, and it gave me one more opportunity to look oral history from Indian perspective afresh. Uh, all the dignitaries present virtually, all the students who are listening to this beautiful conversation, respected registrars, sir, honorable vice chancellors, all the faculty members. I'm sorry if I'm kind of if I'm missing out on hierarchy and formalities, because now we are entering to the Indian realm of truth, wherein we believe that each one is important and divine. I have prepared a sort of PPT so that I don't go off track and we stay tuned to this topic. And I've already shared a bit of it with Nandan Shastri sir. Uh, Thank you for this beautiful poem, beautiful pratna recited. That's an apt inaugural, and that's how we should be doing things in India, wherever we do whatever we do. Basically, I reside in a small village in like a remote Saurashtra region, uh, in a college where uh, Gandhian ideology is still being practiced. We live in a Gurukul setup, and we clean our own houses and toilets, and we cook together, we work together. So a lot of what I'm going to speak has the the contours on the lived experiences. So it would be fun to talk about this. I've kept my presentation simple, uh, keeping in mind future history enthusiasts, so that we have more youth coming to this group and more young scholars. We need actually more young scholars to take interest in history. Unfortunate part of the teaching of history in schools is that pardon my word, but we have killed it. Actually, we have killed the interests of students. So the institute I belong to, one of our co-founders, Manubhai Pancholi, his pen name was Darshak. He's a great scholar, and he wrote a book called "The Education of History: How Should We Impart the History Education?" And I had an opportunity to translate that book, and that's how I got into history, and then oral history, and I did a paper on Gujarati literature from the perspective of oral history. Yeah, so that's the least I wanted to say about myself. Let's dive into uh, something bigger and something of larger importance. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen. uh, yeah, and yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. uh,
Sir, is it on full screen, sir? Is it on
it,
slideshow?
it it is on slideshow.
So but it is not showing
let me
slideshow here.
let
So
me try it once again.
possibly sharing entire screen would be better.
Yeah, I'm sharing my entire screen. Okay, entire screen. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
All
Yes.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first take on this whole topic is what makes India different. The several things that make India different, or the entire Oriental culture different from the our counterpart. The very concept of time. I think it has already been discussed, but we should dive a little deep into it. The way we have learned history, like periodization and linear and progressive, and moving from fixed and to the another fixed and. So it is heavily based on the very notion of progress, which is like straightforward. So it is very limiting if we want to encompass the essence of history, which understands time as cyclical, which is vast, which is based on cosmic cycles of creation and preservation and dissolution. So we don't actually uh, believe in anything which is finite. That's why the whole concept of rebirth, yug, coming and going, so this whole idea of infinity is so huge and vast that the western lenses are simply inadequate and incapable of holding the very truth of that notion, that concept, and that belief system. So now onwards, we are shifting our focus of time from being fixed, infinite, and linear to something which is vast and cyclical in nature. And when we shift this concept of time, we automatically shift the concept of truth. On one hand, we have been told that if there is evidence, it is true. But the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. From there onwards, we begin to look at alternative ways of knowing, actually, not just looking at history, but the various ways that we can know this world uh, apart from the given Western. For example, according to physicists, we can only understand only 4% of this universe by this empirical science. 96% of this universe, they call it known universe, goes beyond, mass, matter, something that is tangible. So how do you reconcile the truth of that 96% of this universe? So for that we need alternative sciences. So one of the alternative sciences which we must look into is the yogic sciences. Why I'm mentioning yogic sciences is because when we talk about oral histories, we are mostly into performances and mantra, and we are into body traditions. But this mystic tradition has a lot to offer, not just to India or to this knowledge system, but to the larger uh, world. So the worldview now we are taking on is that of huge, vast, and which is very close to truth. So I name Western concept of time and Western concept of uh, history as history and oral history as story. So we should move from history to a story. Second thing is we need reasons. We need ample reasons to go beyond archives. Yeah. So the obvious question is, what is the problem with archives? So far they have worked well, so to say, or we are still banking on archives. Whenever something goes wrong legally, we need evidences. So what is the need? So the first argument is that no matter how accurate they are, they often privilege literate, elite, and institutional voices. To put all of them to go together, a colonial way of putting things systematically, or to administrate truth. On the other hand, many Indian communities preserve history orally, through songs, through stories, through rituals. So it is really unfair to call one sort of truth as history and not to the other forms of truth as history. It's really unfair. So, our experiences of looking at history, be it larger history or smaller incidents, they have revealed certain gaps, certain silences that we need to fill. And these archives, reading between the lines or going beyond the books, is only possible as of today through oral narratives. So, so these oral narratives transform history from a record of events into a tapestry of experiences. So event is it's something, it takes us to that philosophical riddle. If a tree has fallen into the forest and nobody has heard about it or seen it falling, did it fall? That's the question. So that was an event, but what about experiences? The experience of falling. Yeah. So moving beyond the archive means listening, and listening ethically, listening empathetically, and listening critically. So that is one of the biggest challenges for all the oral historians, to have these three values. I don't call them skills because skills are very naive. Values are, larger. Values have organic nature. Uh, so if you put both the ways of keeping history, they look like this. So archival history's limitations on one side, so they have a huge colonial bias. For example, I was reading the first translations of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas, and I was looking at the prefaces. I did one paper on those translators' prefaces. So what I observed was the way they looked at those texts uh, was extremely biased, to that extent that some of us like get really annoyed by their words. Just to give you an example, that in the first translation of the Mahabharata, the translator said that uh, this is in no way in comparison with Iliad and Odyssey. And in the preface he was talking about the length of the books and all sorts of things. So we realize that something is being missed out here. So that colonial bias is something that that triggers us actually, not from the perspective of any envy, but we feel pity for their naive understanding of truth and organic nature of time in history. Second is fragmented narratives. So if the narrator changes, they change truth also. So that's why history has history has already fallen into the traps of ideologies. So be it right wing or be it left wing or any wing. So history per se loses its essence uh, if it gets trapped into any of these ideologies. So that fragments that actually uh, tortures what has happened. So one of the beautiful definitions or one of the beautiful ways of putting this limitation is, somebody said that history is not what has happened but what has been told has happened. So it actually makes us scratch our head that so far whatever we have read, did those events happen, or somebody has just told us they have happened, or with certain shades of meaning. Third is absence of subaltern voices. Yeah, we know many about kings and queens, but we know nothing about maybe farmers of 4th century, 5th century, what kind of lives peasants, artisans, women, for example, Dalit, Adivasis, right? And fourth is administrative focus. So we know that kingdoms and East India companies, and so the keeping history was a paid job, and that's why we have reasons to believe that there were intentions, there were vested interest in keeping those kinds of history, and then teaching those histories. We experience the problems today. As against that, what are the strengths of oral history? Number one, in India, nobody is singular. Nobody can afford to be singular. We are born plural people. We live and we celebrate community lives. So we get community perspectives, and that's where it gets the truth becomes clearer. 360-degree truth. Second is it talks about lived experiences. So lived experiences have better edge over written experiences because written language is any day limited to share what has been lived. Third is counter narratives. So we have mainstream tags, let's say, of the great epics, but we also have counter narratives wherein, for example, A.K. Ramanujan's beautiful article on the Ramayana, like more than 300 plus Ramayans exist in this country. So how do you keep them, or how do you bring them to and juxtapose into the main tradition and emotional truths? So so one is the evidence based truth, another is emotional or maybe faith driven truth. So oh, we can't compare them, but at the same time we cannot ignore the emotional and the faith driven truth. We need oral history. The case that we are fighting is we need oral histories for three beautiful reasons. Reason number one, I've already talked about the plurality, but plurality of epistemologies. There are many ways of knowing, not just literacy, not just reading and writing. There are other ways of knowing. And if we have more options of knowing, we are actually democratizing knowledge. If we are saying literacy campaign, we are suffocating the very possibilities of knowledge creation. So the given history or history education or even education per se thrives on the premise of knowledge transmission and not knowledge creation. If you want to create knowledge, you must allow plural perspectives and plural epistemologies. So I'm interested into oral history because of uh, enormous or plethora of knowledge available in our indigenous literature, which is oral and which we are trying to record. Third is moral imagination. How communities judge right and wrong. I think in the 21st century, what I feel is missing is we have lost our compass. So this moral compass can be restored or can be rebuilt by taking help of oral history. Otherwise, it's not possible just to rely on rights. So this Western culture focuses exclusively on my rights over my duties, my dharma. So dharma, as we understand in India, translates loosely as my duties. So if you prioritize your duties, you don't become violent. And but if you focus on your rights, there are chances, and we see what is happening all around the world. Rights lead to violence. It doesn't mean to say that nobody should speak up for the rights. Actually, if everybody performs their duties well, there won't be any requirement for providing anyone their rights. It is a resultant outcome of performing your duties well that everybody receives their rights well. Third is lived truth, how people experience history in their own language and symbols. I think oral history, second reason why I'm in love with oral history is it celebrates language, rhythm, tune, sounds. I think that's where the life of people resides. Otherwise, if we have hegemonic concept of umbrella concept of language, we are painting this world with only white, whereas this world is beautiful garden with all sorts of flowers. But we just maybe English or any one language is not is simply incapable of holding the truth that we live. So one of the earliest scholars on orality is Walter J. Ong, and he differentiated between two types of orality. A primary orality, he said, exists in societies that have never known writing or print. That is very primary, or I would say original orality. Why? Because knowledge is transmitted face to face through memory, performance, and participation. That's why the very need for writing or very need for print was not there. So how did they survive, and how did they continue their traditions and their knowledge systems? Third is it is thinking in concrete, communal, situational, and aided by rhythm and formula. So this is what Ong calls primary orality. For example, our gatha, shlokas, mantras that use repetition and rhythm to aid memory. So today we call it rote learning, and we actually blame rote learning for not enhancing our creativity. But actually, if we just shift this word from rote learning to rhythm, it becomes beautiful. It changes our perspective of looking at this whole idea of formula. Then Ong also talks about secondary orality, which exists in societies that know writing and print but use electronic media, for example, radio, television, internet, to restore oral communication. Something that we are doing right now. We are using YouTube to keep record of this lecture or this discussion. This orality depends on writing and technology, yet it recreates the participatory feel of the oral culture. So now orality is merging or is collaborating with writing and technology in some sense, but it is still orality. For example, podcasts, social media conversation, talk shows, they are oral, but they are shaped by literacy and technology. I'm going to also talk about AI and orality, just to mention deep fake. So, right now we are in the primitive stage of deep fake. What if we reach to the 60th version of deep fake? What it look like natural and original? Then aren't there chances of the same, you know, biases of written history? How do we make sense of the futuristic oral history? So we have already named them. What are these oral narratives? They are life histories, testimonies, folktale songs, proverbs, myths, all of them. It reminds me of Svetlana Alexeyevich, 2015 Nobel laureate for literature. She did oral history for the women participants of Second World War of Ukraine and Russia. She interviewed for 40 years consecutively, and she wanted to understand the situation of women in absence of men in their villages, and women who participated in the frontline war, what happened to them. And the book is beautiful. I recommend it to everybody. It's called Unwomanly Face of War. It's a beautiful example of how oral history can be done. So it preserves collective memory, cultural identity, and emotion. So the India's legacy of oral knowledge has been kept into so many things. In fact, if we keep just note of it, it goes into volumes and maybe libraries. I happened to visit state archives of the government of Gujarat, and I happened to see one dictionary. It ran up to about maybe 1,000+ pages, and the title of the dictionary was Meanings of the Names in the Mahabharata. Only the names of the characters of the Mahabharata. There was a huge dictionary. So this legacy demonstrates oral transmission, which represents a sophisticated epistemic system, not primitive precursor. So we are not just saying that the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Veda, they came before writing existed. No, we are not into that, sort of propaganda. We want to establish the fact that orality understood and preserved epistemic system better than the writing system, or in a more original form that it has been preserved. Now, how history is recorded in orality? So I'm trying to compare two sorts of traditions. So one is Bardic traditions, you know. So Bardic coming like Bhat, Charan, like in Gujarat, we have huge, uh, like we have several communities that keep this very well, and I'm sure it is same everywhere in India or maybe most part of South Asia. So these Bardic communities, they preserve genealogical spanning centuries, genealogies spanning centuries. So if you want to know about your great 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 grandfathers and their great grandfathers, so they keep the family genealogies intact. And I, if I'm able to record, there is a this online service which talks about the family tree of entire world, and somebody has started this to understand genealogical traces from how these people got together. It's a beautiful thing. All of us can participate in. Second is political alliances and conflicts. Third is verifiable historical details. So let me give you an example. Gujarat is famous for gir forest. So long back, let's say 50 years back, so there was the lions population was declining. So one of the allegations was on the cowherds, that cowherds were living uh, in the jungle. They kill lions to save their herd, their animals, their cattle. So they were pushed. The government was pushing them out of the forest. So, one of the songs that is being sung even today after 60 years across Gujarat, it keeps that feeling. And the song is loosely translated like this, that I'm a poor cowherd who is living in this beautiful forest, but the police is pushing me out of my own homeland. The winter is so harsh. How can I go and fetch water for my cowherd? Because if I go out, police will catch me and will push me out of my homeland. So if you look at newspapers or government circulars of those time, and if you look at what people felt about it, so it becomes verifiable. Look at the second column. Folk songs, devotional narratives, myths, they encode historical events. For example, uh, entire bhakti movement of poetry that has encoded several kings and what was happening in pan India, why bhakti movement was needed. Second is environmental knowledge. I think one of the sub sections of this entire webinar should be devoted to environmental knowledge as preserved in oral history. I think it's amazing. Third is social commentary. So, as I said, in Bhakti movement and maybe let's say in Kabir's Doha, we'll see various, in bits and pieces, he's commenting on contemporary social life. So oral historians, what they do is, while collecting oral narratives, they build trust and cultural familiarity. It is not a survey. You have to talk to the people, talk to their hearts, not to their brains. Conduct open-ended and long interviews. As I said, it's not a survey. It's not just tick A B C D. It's not a MCQ test. It's open-ended and letting people empty their hearts and empty their memories, empty their reservoirs of experiences. It is an honest attempt to record tone, pauses, and emotions. I think it's where the truth lies. It's not in what is written, or as we people in literature say, it's between the lines. It's in the tone. So when you're recording, let's say there's a oral history book on Bhopal gas tragedy. If you read that book, so they've noted that they wanted to share, and it comes to the tongue, tip of the tongue, but then they hold it. So this, what is it that is holding back to the survivors of Bhopal gas tragedy to tell the truth? So it is this that oral historian must be interested into. It is to respect informed consent and trauma sensitivity. Sometimes it is very lucrative. It is slippery to get into this emotional, ambience of this whole interview, and you would like to go deeper and deeper into the person's life and the incident. But then we must also realize that we are adding, or the oral historian is also, you know, mm, scratching the old wounds. So that's the trauma sensitivity. So one of my suggestions is there should be exclusive training and rigorous uh, case study based training of anybody who wants to perform oral history from all these perspectives. Once the data is collected, uh, no, the demanding, the daunting task begins, and which is interpretation. Compare with written sources. So sometimes it is very naive to say that, see, you have missed out this in written history and we have found out. So that's not the goal. It's not a competition. Our aim in oral history is to fill the gaps of the larger truth. We are not in competition with the written history. Of course, for want of a better trajectory, that right now we are juxtaposing it with written thing, but oral history is more than just a competitor to written history. Identify recurring patterns, silences, and contradictions. So this is where the real training requires. Can we identify the patterns? Maybe if we interview 10 people, do we see the pattern, or do we see the same sort of silences, or there are shades of silences and contradictions? So the critical questions are here. How do individual memories intersect with collective memory? There's a beautiful movie called Love Story 1942. Anil Kapoor, starring Anil Kapoor. There's another movie called Mossam. starring Shahid Kapoor and Sonam Kapoor. Both of these movies, they talk about how individual is affected by larger history. So Quit India movement was happening when one character's love story was happening. So it was completely disturbed and distorted by the larger history of Quit India movement. Same happens in that film. Why I'm giving example of film, because so many students can relate to the films. So what is my understanding of a group event? Is it in tandem with the other individuals' experiences? So that's one question. Second question is, how does present context shape collection of the past events? Yeah, sometimes we keep on twigging with history so that we can match to the demands of the present. If I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the Herodotus's writing, it has been said that anybody who is reshaping the history to match the present demand will be persecuted. So I think across the globe we see this pattern. People are trying to, you know, not just reread but rewrite also, not just rewriting but reinterpreting also to suit their individual or group's political vested interests. So that's another question. Third is, what investments do narrators have in particular versions? So we have to be very critical in looking at the narrator's version. If you meet the narrator first time, second time, third time, in the morning, afternoon, before certain event, after elections, before elections, after a ceremony, before a ceremony, does it change? And if change, what is your inference of that change? And fourth is, how do power dynamics influence testimony? Who is the narrator? Is he a sarpanch? Is he a survivor? Is he or she a beneficiary? Who is the survivor and how this power dynamics influence testimony? So, some of the case studies long pending in not just in Indian oral historical context but larger global context is women's histories through oral narratives. For obvious reasons, official records rarely documented women's labor, decision making, economic roles, or agency. Even today, if you ask a typical rural farmer to give his or her account, I mean, bank accounts or income statistics, he will never consider his wife's labor, or he will not even count the number of hours spent and what could be the cost of that hours. So starting from that basic, we need to go to the larger picture. Oral narratives try to restore these absent perspectives. So that's why we when we talk about women's participation in making of Indian history, we're just looking at political making of India. But what about the cultural making of India? What about the epistemological making of India? So they reveal women's participation in nationalist movements and labor struggles, gender specific vulnerabilities during historical ruptures such as participation, migration, displacement. Huge migration is going on right now, or for past, let's say, 5 decades. So the rural population is migrating to urban cities. So what is happening there? What is the role of women in there? Role in agriculture, trade, in household economies, narratives of resilience and agency, women's decision making and social reproduction. All these are paths that they're yet to be charted. Second is Dalit narratives, same as women's narratives. Centuries of struggle against caste oppression, intellectual traditions and philosophy, collective resistance movements, alternative consciousness, and organization. A lot of oral tradition exists in many Dalit communities. For example, in I think Mallapalli community in I think a lot of performance related to arts exist in such communities. So we can definitely bring them out. Third is Adivasi narratives. I think I already mentioned about why oral narratives must focus on environmental knowledge, It's here that it must begin. Ecological and environmental knowledge, resistance to colonialism and development. In Gujarat, we have a university which is named after a tribal hero who fought against the British rule, and Birsa Munda and other, yeah, Guru Govind University. Cosmologies and worldviews. It's a beautiful. I mean, their sense of time, their sense of possession, their sense of belonging, all of that can really heal wounds created by 21st century lifestyle. I believe it because I've been working with several communities for past a decade or so. So we need counter narratives to the backward stereotypes because they are really forward, and the very pronoun they is dividing us. Fourth is this labor and migration histories, from statistics to stories. Because when we talk about labor, we certainly got the GDP and women man ratio and children and all sorts of things. But the truth is in the stories. So oral histories of workers, like agricultural laborers, industrial workers, domestic servants, migrants, like many states of India. Let's say zamindari pratha, you know. So what has happened to such laborers? So we are not looking. So of course we have literature, we have novels, stories, poems about them. But what about oral history? So they reveal not just structural conditions, but lived experience, agency, and adaptations. Sometimes their voices have been, you know, or someone else has spoken for them, or rather on behalf of them, which has, presented selective truth. Uh, Fifth, and something that interests me more, is alternative knowledge systems. So, oral traditions embody different ways of knowing through story, song, and rituals we've discussed. But beautiful part is integration of spiritual, ethical, ecological, and social wisdom. Let me take a moment out of this context, and let me take you to one of the forests that I keep visiting. One of the communities that I am working with is in Valsad, which is southern Gujarat. So there is a, small place called Dharampur, and I'm working with the children teachers of those. I mean that area. So one day I was just visiting a village, and I met a farmer family, and we were chatting. So what I noticed was the fancies of the farm was not okay. So I asked the farmer, "Is there any problem?" So he said, "Yes, the pigs attack our crops and they destroy it, and so we have losses every year." So I said, "Why don't you keep electric shocks, which is the government approved electric shocks for such animals to protect your farm?" So, that farmer, that tribal farmer, what he told me was really an eye opener. He told me, he said, I don't want to keep the electric shock wire. I said, why? He said, what if I make a mistake? I said, how are you going to make a mistake? He said, see, we keep the wire for the pigs. But what if little insects they die out of those shocks? It would be a scene counted on my account somewhere in the heaven. So he's ready to bear the economic loss so that he can save himself from the guilt. Where do you get this? It is this spiritual sense that uh, keeps the humanity alive. It's this ethical sense, it's this ecological sense, it is the social wisdom that we need. And it can be preserved through looking at the alternative knowledge systems. So they are community owned and experientially validated, not institutionally certified. We get this whole idea of certified thing, certified trainer, certified organic farmer, and so we get paper certificate, but what about the truth? So I believe these alternative knowledge systems are more organic. So what is the impact of all of this? the estimated impact or the expected impact, to challenge grand national narratives that obscured caste and class hierarchies. Reveal Indian history as a plural histories with multiple temporalities and struggle. Demonstrate simultaneous consciousness, formations, and resistance. We are not saying that we will get all of the truth, but we are sure that we are on the right direction. Sometimes direction is more important than the uh, ultimate goal. Now, as I said, I want to talk a little about this AI driven approach to oral archives. So, can we take help of AI and use speech to text transcription, such as Whisper or Google Speech AI, which can transcribe oral interviews in multiple Indian languages? Right now, the problem is we don't have data set for Indian oral voices. So, right now, several institutes are doing. For example, this Indian Institute of Languages, Mysore is doing a bit of work here. SVIT, uh, uh, the college is doing a little bit of work, but still we need people who can design tools that can capture Indian dialects. Second is automatic translation. We know the issues with machine translations, but they're still emerging. If we can get translations for regional languages, I think we will be able to record a lot of wisdom which will, in an otherwise case, vanish. Audio restoration, AI based audio restoration, and if we can make them onto searchable platform. Let's say if you want to hear the longest singing of the Mahabharat in tribal voice, so it should be searchable somewhere on internet, like data set. Or so as I said, so India is a country with hundreds of dialects and sub languages. So we need AI models trained in natural language NLP, which can identify regional variations, accents, and idiomatic expressions. For example, all of us understand this. Let's say Gujarat. So Gujarat has several dialects, and each dialect has peculiar accent, and each accent and tonality has a capacity to preserve and share knowledge that is extremely valuable. Second, classify oral data by region, community, and cultural theme. Let's say if you want to know about farmers' problems, so can we train these AI tools to give us these farmers' problems from their oral narratives, and can AI analyze them thematically? That's what is we are looking for. Also, third, help linguists and anthropologists understand cultural transmission patterns across generations. Suppose we have data of 200 years and we give to some AI tool, and that AI tool can give us certain patterns. I think that would be a great help. For example, we have a very Elvin coming to India, living with tribals and documenting their like 40 years he gave his life to uh, this understanding this community. So it is great work, anthropological work can be given to AI, which can help the next generation of AI anthropologists. So we want to find out recurring motives, narrative structures, and emotional tones. What are the motives? Heroism, sacrifice, faith, land, loss, violence. What are the structures? Cyclical, mythic, genealogical, community based, profession based. What are the emotional tones? Griefs, nostalgia, hope, right? And using sentiment analysis. So I think this is a new avenue that future oral historians, like some of the students who are listening to this, can really take up this as their master's dissertations or even for their PhDs. So with this, we can revive some of the endangered oral traditions. So I want some of the students to take up even simple projects like proverbs, the way they are said, the context in which they are said. So for that, we need something that we call is rural appraisal, something that we call as ethnographic studies, where we have to live with the communities and then understand. Yeah, but AI also brings ethical responsibilities. Like the oral histories belong to the communities, not just researchers. Algorithms must respect cultural ownership, consent, and contextual meaning. You can't just keep a piece of truth and then reveal it as violence or as superstition, as many Western or many colonizers have defamed India, calling it a country of snake charmers and madaris. No, it's not like that. You don't understand the legacy or the tradition or the contextual meaning. Scholars must ensure that AI interpretation does not flatten the emotional or spiritual depth or oral narratives. So, something that we experience with ChatGPT or Claude or Grok is that the tone is getting flattened or the dialectical nuance is getting flattened. Some of the generic challenges and ethical concerns of going beyond the archives: number one, memory distortion and selective recall. So, like, what do we do if you're asking an, let's say, 90 years old man, his experiences of partition, so his memory might have gone like distorted, or selective recall. I will only talk about X thing or Y thing. Second is translation and interpretation biases. So we need training, sometimes tools, sometimes machines. Third is preservations and ownership issues. Again, rights, IP, intellectual property rights, patents. Who owns? Fourth is risk of exploiting personal trauma. It is a bigger risk. Emerging consideration for digital technology, digital sovereignty of communities, data protection and privacy, access restrictions for sensitive knowledge, and long-term preservation strategies. So I think it's at the government level or some autonomous body can do it. Some couple of countries can collaborate and preserve the knowledge systems. I don't know. This is the webinar to open up these issues. So finally, I want to say that now it is time to widen and integrate sources of history keeping. So far history keeping has been only the evidence based written thing. Let's have a wider scope. Let's have collaborations with archival documents, material culture, archaeological evidence, environmental history, along with oral narratives, stories, and performances, so that we have multiple perspectives. Friends, my vote is for multiple perspectives, so that we don't make mistake in judging anything at all. So we need to go beyond the archives. The future of Indian historical scholarship lies in creative integration of oral narratives with other sources, which I mentioned. We need ethical collaborations with communities so that nobody gets exploited, nobody's rights get violated, or yeah, stuff like that. A recognition that comprehensive history requires multiple ways of knowing the past. So we want to hear subaltern voices. We need indigenous values and the continuity between ancient and modern experiences. So we want to liberate history from the clutches of the past, and we want to restore it into our throats and into our traditions, so that we can sing our history, uh, we can perform our history, we can paint our history. So uh, takeaways, as a teacher, I always feel that students should be given something. What are the takeaways? Oral narratives transform historical understanding. They restore voices of marginalized communities, reveal agency and resilience often invisible in archives, challenge grand narratives with alternative perspectives, illuminate lived experience and emotional truth, demonstrate that history is multiple and contested. For that, let's take help of AI. So I'm awaiting not merely documentation but genuine historical listening. Thank you so much for providing me this opportunity. I'll be greatly indebted to everybody who is part and parcel of this beautiful group called History Enthusiast. And yeah, I bow down to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Really, it was a very wonderful keynote address, and our particularly collaborated when we have collaborated with Rani Chennamma University, the faculties as well as the chairman of the department, Kavita Kuskalji, also has appreciated your keynote address a lot. She continued joining us through YouTube. Thank you so much. It was really a thought provoking keynote address. Thanks a lot. So, moving to the next phase of the session, now I request Ms. Manali Momaya to briefly introduce Nandan Shastri ji, Honorary President of the History Enthusiasts, as it's his birthday and we want to make it a bit special for him. That's why. Over to you, Manali.
Thank you, Nidhi. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, I can.
So please let me know if my voice gets disconnected in between.
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, my sincerest appreciation to one that seamlessly wove together the Gandhian ideals, the educational innovation, and elements of the oral traditions. And his words, they have not just inspired us, but also reminded us that history, when spoken with conviction, it becomes both wisdom and action. So we will definitely take a lot of insights from your keynote address, sir. And now coming to the introduction, it is a matter of great honor to introduce Shri Nandan Shastri ji, our honorary president of the History Enthusiasts Association, and one of India's respected voices in the field of museology and environmental sciences. With a career spanning over 4.5 decades, Shastri ji has combined the precision of a scientist with the sensitivity of a curator, leaving an indelible mark of museum practice and heritage conservation in India. He is a Museum Association of India and the International Committee of ICOM. His work reflects both national and international recognition. Over the years, he has held key positions at University Museum Vallabh Vidyanagar, the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Memorial, Ahmedabad, and several other leading institutions in India and in the US. A prolific scholar and practitioner, Shastri ji has authored more than 170 research articles and conceptualized pioneering initiatives in museum display, conservation, and accessibility, including innovative programs for visually impaired visitors. His experience working with institutions such as the American Museum of Natural History, New York, and the Asian Art Museum, San Francisco, adds a remarkable global dimension to his expertise. His intellectual generosity and commitment to mentorship have guided generations of scholars, museologists, and historians. As a guiding spirit of the history enthusiasts, his leadership continues to inspire us and our vision to make history more accessible, more participatory, and more relevant to our audiences, to the contemporary society, and to the mainstream historical narratives that we dialogue with every day. It is a privilege to invite him to deliver the presidential remarks of this inaugural session of this very, very interesting and relevant webinar. So, over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Dear Dr. Vishal Bhai, Santosh ji, Dr. Kavita and her colleagues, Manali, Nidhi, and friends and students. Oral history can be defined as the recording, preservation, and interpretation of historical information based on the personal experiences and opinions of the speaker. It may take the form of eyewitness evidence about the past, but can include folklore, myths, songs, and stories passed down over the years by the word of mouth. While it is an invaluable way of preserving the knowledge and understanding of older people, it can also involve interviewing younger generations. Oral evidence has certain advantages over historical documents. In contrast to any historical document, oral evidence comes from a living source. Oral history provides a level of accessibility to the past that often is missing from other forms of history. And this is one of the primary reasons why it is so popular among historians and students. When listening to oral testimonies, then historians need to remain cognizant of the fact that people forget many of the small details of their daily life and instead rely on presenting a broad sketch of their experiences. Often, only the most profound memories stand decades later. Therefore, historians need to be careful when relying on oral histories to provide historically reliable details. When possible, good historian will try to compare the information gathered in oral testimonies against established historical fact. Some writers are of the view that oral history really goes back as far as Adam and Eve. When Eve ate the apple and told Adam about it, that was the beginning of oral reminiscences. When there were no written records, then man used to narrate the deeds of his ancestors to their children verbally. Even the Rig Veda, the Mahabharata, and other historical epics were mostly relied on oral accounts. But in the sum total, it has to be admitted that the use of oral evidence could not altogether be discarded for historical writing. Also, that the entire knowledge about prehistoric and ancient times, when the written script had not been invented, has descended to us only through oral tradition or the remembered word. It is this realization which has once again brought the oral tradition back to its proper place as a source of history. During the 44th session of the Indian Historical Records Commission held in Bikaner in the year 1976, the following resolution, brought forwarded by our eminent historian Professor O.P. Bhatnagar, was adopted. Resolved that an oral history record office be established as part of National Archives, whose purpose should be to record on tape and then transcribe the recollections of men who have played an important part in the recent history, as well as the reaction of these who have seen history made. Oral history has made the life experiences of people of all kinds, high and low, as basis of writing history. By introducing new evidences, by shifting the focus of inquiry, and by opening new areas of inquiry, history has set in a process of transformation in the subject of history. In recent years, Indian oral history has moved beyond traditional subjects like national leaders to document the experiences of marginalized and underrepresented communities, driven by digital technology and a push for more inclusive historical narratives. The field is expanding to cover diverse themes, including social movements, gender, environmental conservation, and caste. Dr. Vishal Bai has already covered many salient points in his keynote address. Santosh ji, in his inaugural speech, has highlighted many aspects of oral history. Dr. Kavita ji, uh, in her welcome speech, was also elaborated uh, many points. I am overwhelmed by Manali's excellent coverage of narration of the concept of the lecture series. Nidhi and Manali are well experienced in anchoring. Shreya's devotional song in the context of my 75th birthday was also super duper. And one thing which is very common between Dr. Vishal Bhai and myself is Sardar Patel University, where my tenure was over 33 years. So thank you very much, Vishal Bhai, also for uh, covering this vast area uh, in 45 minutes. And Astu, Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderfully briefing the whole session in through your presidential remarks. Before moving towards the vote of thanks, I would inform the audience about tomorrow's lecture. Tomorrow, we have a very well known resource person, Nirguneji. So, he will be going to talk on the title Lok Ki Vachik Parampara. His talk will be in Hindi. So, I request all the audience also to join at the same time, 8 p.m. IST. Uh, so now I request Gopika, who is a research scholar in the Department of English Literature, Rani Chennamma University, Belgami, to present the vote of thanks. Over to you, Gopika.
Am I audible, Nidhi?
Yes, yes, you are.
Antaha asti prarambha, with beautiful meaning of the end is also the new beginning. I am Miss N. Gopika, research scholar, Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. It is my immense pleasure to congratulate and thank those hands who have joined to lead this event towards success. Firstly, I thank President of today's event, Mr. Nandan Shastri Sir, Honorary President, the History Enthusiast Association India. Thank you for your gracious presence and support, sir. Thank you. Now it's time to thank inaugurator of this event, Mr. Santosh Kamgowda sir, Senior KAS Registrar, Ranichanama University, Belagavi. Sir, thank you and we appreciate your participation and support which helped make the event success. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to thank keynote speaker of this uh, event, Dr. Vishal Bharani, sir, Vice Provost, Lok Bharati University for Rural Innovation, Bhavnagar, Gujarat. Sir, I appreciate your time and valuable insights. Thank you very much, sir. Uh, Accordingly, I take this opportunity to thank Professor Kavita Kusgal Madam, Professor and Head, Department of English, Ranichanama University, Belagavi. Thank you for your gracious presence, Madam. In addition, I thank organizer and attendees of this event. Thank you, and all. Have a good day.
I would like to add one more thing here. I also take this opportunity to thank our VC sir of Rani Chandama University, Mr. Tyagraj sir, who very kindly permitted us the opportunity to organize this collaborative webinar. Thank you so much, sir. Of course, we are missing you in this session, but in future, surely we will again have your presence in our lectures. Thank you so much, everyone. Please join us tomorrow at same time. We are signing off here. Namaste, Shubhratri.
Thank you, and all.